I guess it's kind of intimidating to go first, but
Go ahead.
my question would be, if a person has bad thoughts but doesn't act on it, does that still make that person a bad person?
Well, I don't think about it being a bad person, but the action itself is a bad action. But the fact that you don't act on it, that's a good action. So if you think about mixed thought. So the Buddha never talked about people being good or bad people. He talked about actions being good or bad actions. Because otherwise, then you're assigned, okay, then you're a bad person, and how are you going to turn yourself into a good person unless you get help from outside? But if you realize, okay, there's parts of, you do things that are unskillful, you do things that are skillful. And you're going to have different identities around each of those actions. So you can learn how to use your more skillful side to work with the unskillful side.
What about the thoughts?
The thoughts would be, yeah, you would have skillful and unskillful thoughts, yeah. But the fact that you would say, okay, I know this, I've got this thought, I really want to see this person burn in hell, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Then you say, oh, okay, the original impulse was not good, but the fact that you're not going to act on it, that's a good impulse, that's a good thought. So you've got, it's called mixed karma.
I have a follow-up question to that. For example, when you see bad thoughts arise and you don't act on it, I feel like I can understand not acting on it, but how do you eradicate those thoughts from even arising?
That takes a lot of work. But the first thing is to ask yourself, what other ways could I be thinking about this situation that would be more skillful? Bad thoughts, if it's something like a lot of anger, you can ask yourself, maybe there's a part of that anger and seeing that there's something wrong here, and you don't deny that. Then the next question is, okay, what would be the most skillful thing to do, given that there's a problem in this situation that could use a solution? So you try to pull out which parts of the thoughts are actually useful, which are not actually getting in the way, and reacting in a skillful way to situations.
So truly find peace. And
Generosity, virtue, meditation. I mean, it's not a secret. It's a question of actually making sure that your priorities are in line with the practice. Because we live in this culture which has a lot of very different priorities, and we tend to pick up a lot of them from the culture. And you have to find some time, and this is one of the reasons why we have monasteries, we have places where people can get away from the dominant values of the culture. So you can ask yourself, do I really want to follow through with those values, the things you picked up from school, or the things you picked up from the media, or whatever. Our culture does not have rites of passage the way they used to have in old cultures, where a kid can go out before you become an adult. You go out and basically have some time by yourself. Say, okay, what really is important in my life? But so meditation and places like this serve that same function.
And also about meditation. I've noticed that you said in your talks, you said to focus on the breath.
Mm-hmm.
If you're focusing on the breath, then is it really a clear mind? Because sometimes I try to focus on my breath, and sometimes I count, and I try to count, and it still seems to wander off. Is it because I'm not practicing enough, or?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the way you understand your breath, the way you're breathing, the attitude you bring to the practice before you come. And this is one of the reasons why you notice when we practice here, we have chanting beforehand to kind of get your mind in the right frame. Because sometimes you find that an attitude or an issue from the day is still sort of bubbling underneath the surface and just wants to come out. It gets in the way of the meditation. Other times you're just tired, and your mind is just doesn't have the strength it needs to bring focus. So that's one of the reasons, as I said, we chant basically to get a different attitude. And I've usually found when people come here to meditate, the first day or two, they just kind of sleep. Everybody in this culture seems to have a sleep debt.
Thank you.
What if you feel like lost in the world? You have like no friends, and you just feel like, oh, no one wants you. Well, where do you go to like try to change that? Well, my question is like, what could you do to improve that situation?
Okay, you can ask yourself, how are you being a good friend to other people? And are you looking in the right right places for the kind of people that you would actually feel comfortable with, that you would actually feel that are kind of on the same wavelength that you are. Those are the two things. Are you looking in the right places? And two, what kind of friend are you to other people? How much do I really need to get by in this life, and how much is just extravagance? Because the stuff that you spend money on that really isn't necessary, that's money you could have used for a better purpose. Yes.
I have a follow-up question to what Justin was asking about. For example, if you see someone suffering and they have certain views that that lead into that type of suffering, sometimes it's really hard to talk about another view because that's not what they want or need. So and it's a very vague question because there's circumstances, but how would you what is the best way to look at that situation and help that person through those thoughts?
Again, it varies from person to person. But like in the case of my father, I could never mention Buddhism to him. It was a sore topic. But the questions you can ask is, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about that? You don't use the B word at all. But you just try to frame the questions in ways that gives them the idea. It opens up possibilities that they haven't thought of before. And then there are cases where you just really can't help it. That's where you have to avoid it. But first you try to get around the topic and the questions you ask. And this is probably one of the Buddha's most important discoveries, is that it's the questions you ask make all the difference. That's why he put certain questions aside when he would deal with them, or he would reframe the question. And there were certain questions that he would be actually willing to answer because he said, okay, these are the ones that are really useful. Now, getting people to think in terms of the suffering that they're causing themselves. Some people will say, well, are you blaming me for my suffering? I say, well, no, but you're adding more suffering on than you have to, and there might be other ways that you could think about something or understand something so that you're not weighing yourself down unnecessarily. So you have to tailor it. But I find it's a lot easier to present them with questions that open up possibilities rather than saying, why didn't you think in this way?
The individual is very accountable for his or her actions. And I was just wondering, from other perspectives, does Buddhism ever see the environment as the cause of their distress and their suffering?
Well, you've got two kinds of dukkha. Dukkha is the word for stress or suffering. And one kind is the kind in the three characteristics. And in fact, you living in this human world are going to be causes for suffering all around all the time. Because things are stressful just in the fact that they are dependent on conditions and unstable. But then there's also the dukkha that comes from your own craving and ignorance, and that's your own optional addition on top of things. And that's something you can do about it. You can't do anything about the fact that things outside are going to change and things outside are going to be.
So it's changing perspective.
Changing your perspective and realizing that certain things that you are not responsible for, but other things other forms of suffering you really are responsible for. Now, given the fact that you are in a certain environment, Buddhism would assign that to the fact that you did something in the past that gets you into this environment to begin with. But then you want to say, oh, okay, that's past bad karma, I don't want to go there anymore. And this requires you to really look at the culture and look at your environment, question it. Because even in India, which is in home of Buddhism, or in any other Asian countries, it's not the case that everybody's a great Buddhist and all the values of the culture are Buddhist. Like in Thailand, it's almost like the 5 precepts were a joke on the Thai people. Things you like to do. Thai people like to kill animals, they like to steal, they like to hell is the sense, they like to lie, they like to drink. And so they say, okay, 5 precepts. You can't do any of that. And there's part of the culture that resists. And you have the choice, am I going to go with that part of the culture, or am I going to go with this part of the culture? I know a lot of people who work in government offices, and when they start saying, gee, we really ought to be less corrupt around here, they say, if you want to be here, go live in a monastery, don't be here. So wherever you are, there's going to be kind of anti-dharma elements in the culture, pro-dharma. And when you get mature enough that you say, well, my values are my values, I've really got to think them through. How am I going to lead my life? How am I going to what are your priorities going to be? It comes down to, in Theravada's perspective, is that you really do have to do the work yourself. The Buddha can point things out to you, and you get the good influence from the teachers, but you're the one who actually has to do the work. In a lot of Mahayana, it's the Bodhisattvas are going to help you in one way or another. And in a lot of Vajrayana, you can force the Bodhisattvas to help you with the mantras and the chants and whatnot. And that's a very short distinction.
But what kind of Buddhism do you practice?
It's just Theravada. Practicing?
No, in the monastery here.
We have too many people.
But to pick up on that question, in meditation, do you ever feel well?
Well, the times, I don't know, I used to think when I was starting out it would be good if somebody would come down and sort of give me some advice. And as having been raised a Christian, you're constantly asking God for advice or inspiration. And when you're meditating, you realize, okay, it's not going to come. I've got to figure these out on my own. And that for me was the big emotional shift. Practicing, but once you get used to looking at things and learning how to figure it out, it's kind of like a game to play. Here's a problem here. There must be a way around it. And sometimes it's frustrating that it takes a long time to get a way around certain problems, but still, there's that sense that it's almost like a challenge. I haven't felt lonely for a long time.
In a situation where there is no good outcome, and then you ask yourself if it's even worth pursuing the situation or like resolving it, I feel like the answer is just not to do it, because you're going to compromise yourself and your values. But what if it's irresponsible not to take action?
What kind of situation are you talking about?
I'm thinking more like if you have let's hypothetically, you have to save someone and you have to kill someone regardless. You could either don't kill anybody, but something might happen, or you do kill someone and then you kill someone. What should someone do?
You don't want to be in a position to decide which of those people dies.
I'm sorry?
You don't want to be in a position, you don't want to be the decider in that case, like somebody's got
Yes.
to die, but you don't want to be the one who makes the decision that so-and-so dies rather than somebody else.
I actually don't.
Yeah.
But what if you are?
You're just going to leave the situation alone. Let the situation work itself out. So, okay, that's a situation where I don't want to get involved in the karma of that situation.
And when you're in a bad situation where you've asked everyone for help and their advice doesn't give you any help, like it doesn't point you in a direction to solve the situation, and you don't know what to do, what should you do in that situation? What if nobody else could help you?
Then you've got to say, okay, I really don't know, but this seems to be the best approach, and then give it a try. Because that's what a lot of the practice is, because not everything is laid out in black and white. And there are going to be some situations where you say, okay, if I act here, and there may be this problem, and if I act this way, there may be that problem. I really don't know. Well, let's try the one that seems least harmful. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. Learn and take that as a lesson. You can't have somebody, sort of the guidebook to how to live life skillfully where everything's all laid out. There's some things in the teaching where in terms of the precepts, you don't want to break the precepts. But there's a lot of areas where it's not really an issue of precepts, and the question is what would be the most skillful thing. And that's where you just have, this is one of the reasons why we develop meditation, practice meditation, is to get more mindful and more alert. So we can see the situation more clearly. in Alaska, they used to have these big signs that said, bear awareness. And it's basically what to do when you meet a bear. And they go down the list, okay, you see a bear and you don't run away. And there's a lot of do's and don'ts. They had 10 different do's and don'ts. And they finally got down to number 9 was something like, if the bear actually does attack you, lie down, play dead. Okay. And then the next one is, okay, if the bear may chew on you. And this is going to be very mindful and alert to figure out, why is this bear chewing on you? Because some bears will chew on you out of curiosity just to see if you really are dead, and they'll make 1 or 2 bites and you don't move, they'll go away. And other bears are hungry. And they said in the first case, just continue to play dead and the bear will go away. In the second case, fight back for all your work. Poke his eyes or whatever you can to sort of get him away. And of course, it takes a lot of mindfulness and alertness to figure out, bear is chewing on you. Is this bear chewing on me out of curiosity, or is it chewing on me out of hunger? That's what a lot of life is. Situations where you have to read the situation yourself. In a case like that, you just try to bring as much mindfulness and alertness as you can, and say, okay, this is going to have to be a learning situation. I may make a mistake, but I'll do my best to begin with. Don't burden yourself with the fact that you knew better, but then you didn't do what you knew you should have done. So take your best guess, your best estimation, and then if it doesn't work out, you learn.
I've met a monk, a female monk, and she was talking to my family about how, I think either her sect of Buddhism or it was Buddhism in general, that they favor the men, or they give the men certain, I think, rights, privileges of rebirth, or privileges of something. I couldn't really, she wasn't very clear, or maybe I didn't understand it, but she said that they favor the men, and it's become difficult to the point that she can't return to her monastery or her abode where she usually practices. So, I was just wondering, I know that Buddhism stresses compassion and stresses all these good values. Why does it happen? Why is it? Yeah, it's a contradiction. It seems like a contradiction.
We've got a couple problems here. If you're going to have the celibate orders, you can't have the male order and the female order in the same place, basically. Yet at the same time, you don't want them to be radically separate. And so the Buddha came up with the idea, okay, the women basically run their order, the men run their order, but when they have interactions, he gave the priority to the men. Probably because he said Buddhism would last longer if the men were in charge rather than if the women were in charge. And you can see this one, and it's happened several times when civilizations have fallen. It's been when the men's orders have died. And they've had to screen after that civilization fell. Okay, if they were able to find a men's order someplace else, they come in. But over time, this happened so often that in a lot of countries, there just was no men's order to start with again. So I think it was more just kind of a pragmatic thing. I certainly wasn't saying it was because men are better than women. I just meant like it just felt that they were more likely to survive. And given the fact that one of the issues that comes down is when monks and nuns are together, all the nuns have to train something lesser value, something greater value. The only people who are really generous without any thought of gaining anything from it would be artists, because they don't need anything. Otherwise, up to the point until you've achieved total liberation, you're still going to have to develop at least a healthy sense of self. Have you seen a book I wrote called Selves and Not Self? We've got copies up there. It's basically talking about how the Buddha recommends that you develop a healthy sense of self, or healthy senses of self, in various ways, so that you can help yourself in practice. Without that, there are a lot of things that you can't do without a sense of self. If there's food on the plate in front of you, and the sense that this is me, you can't put food in your mouth. Put it more in your mouth. and that's, of course, gets more complex than that. But just basic functions that they say, they identify as ego functions, like anticipation. You anticipate that there are going to be dangers down the road unless you prepare for them. And that requires a certain sense of self. And if you don't do that, you can't really function. there's going to be a certain sense of self that has to be involved in the reflection. The question is it skillful? Is it useful? And you can think that if you can think in terms of many different senses of self, as like a committee, you may just have to sometimes follow you. And you should develop new members of the committee in regard to how skillful. It will ultimately come to a point where you have to all of them to some extent. But you do want to learn how to develop the skillful ones in the meantime. You learn to recognize the unskillful ones who are inside you.
What kind of advice would you give beginning meditators? Like, what is your greatest advice you would give to a beginning meditator?
Greatest advice. Don't take it all personally. Think of it as this is a long-term project, and whatever good I can do, each time we come back here, you choose an object that you find easy to focus on. And then each time you wander off, come back, and don't get upset with yourself. And having wandered off, just keep coming back, coming back, coming back.
What do you mean by not taking it personally?
No, well, some people say, gee, him been sitting here 10 minutes, my mind is not settled down, I must be an awful meditator, I'm horrible. This hopeless, I'm going to give up. That kind of thing is taking it personally. This is one of the reasons why, before the meditation, we think about some good work for all beings. Think of all the beings out there who are happy already, all the beings who are not happy. And we realize we're kind of just one of those many, 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 many beings who need some happiness. And think about the fact that other people have been meditating, they've met with problems, and they've gotten discouraged, but then they're able to come back. And so you realize when you have problems, okay, it's not unusual, and it's not a sign that you're hopeless. It's just a normal part of the process.
What made you join a monastery or live the majority of the life in a monastery instead of, in greater contact with the rest of the world? Or
Certainly, I've had too much contact with I just really was fascinated by the practice of meditation, and realized if I really wanted to do this well, I guess to work for monastic practice like this, I would have to premise myself to a good teacher. So I could give him a full time. And I was fortunate, I met a really good teacher early on, so I found really inspiring. I mean, it was like I went over the time and thinking, hey, I want to be a monk. I went over, I think, I want to learn meditation. But then as I got more and more into it, I realized I was going to try to be a monk.
how did you explain to your family and your other attachments or your other...
I just said, look, this is something I really want to explore. I was very fortunate. My parents were very open-minded. Their main concern was that I was going to be over there and there was malaria or jungles and other horrible diseases. And I did. But I survived, When I came back in 1991, I had had a case of malaria and I came back shortly after I came back here. So we went and I could feel it coming on again. So I told Dad, so we went down to see the doctor. The doctor came over and said, I didn't know your history. I said, you've got flu, but just in case, why don't you go down and get blood checked? So I went into the hospital, and as soon as I walked into the hospital, I started shaking just a little. So immediately they put me in the emergency room, and it was my father's nightmare. He was there with me. I was shaking on the table, and it was July 2nd. Apparently in that particular hospital, all the new interns started July 1st. So there were a lot of interns. They had nothing else to do. Let's go look at the malaria case down there. And so they all came in with masks. And so here it's a line of doctors with masks on their faces, and the son is shaking on the table. And I had to comfort my dad. I said, Dad, it's going to be okay. I'm going to be all right. You have to worry. We'll end in an hour. And then a real doctor came in and said, you fools, this is not how malaria is transmitted. Get out of here. But I kept thinking, this is my nightmare come true. That malaria just wouldn't go away. From it did, but it took a lot of herbal medicine. And we tried all kinds of Western medicine, but it wasn't done with some herbal medicine. I said that was something concern.